Welcome, everyone, to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and today we have a Bad Batch report for episodes of Bad Batch, Metamorphosis, and The Outpost. And joining me to talk about these really awesome episodes is Molly. Welcome back, Molly.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I was sick, but I have my voice back. Kind of like Ariel reclaiming her voice from Ursula. I have been granted the ability to speak again.
And why not use that ability to podcast?
Exactly. I'm here to scream about the Bad Batch.
Which has been so solid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited in particular. I'm excited to talk about it today. I mean, I'm excited every time I record, but I'm like particularly excited today.
It was so good. These last two episodes, which I know it sucks to like have to wait for us to recap and talk about these things for you, but the wait will be worth it because of our enthusiasm.
I was ready to record last night when I watched it a day late, but I was ready to record immediately after this week's episode.
Yes. You messaged me.
Yes.
Yes.
I just had all the feels. I saw people hinting that it was going to be a big episode, and now I see why. So, but I'm excited to talk about both episodes. It's I'm lucky that I get to rejoin you to talk about Bad Batch again for episodes like this. Once again, they're killing it. Yeah. Feels good. Feels organic.
Like, I haven't struggled with any of the episodes. All of the episodes have been really, really solid in the Bad Batch. Just some of them are a little bit like they were lighter or they were not as heavy as these particular episodes because it's kind of getting into the meta plot of what's happening in the universe. I do want to say, like, it definitely feels the animation has sort of started to pivot as a bridge almost towards Rebels. I noticed that especially in the Outpost when we see the Stormtrooper armor and how much it reminds me of sort of the Macquarie-esque designs in Rebels. It just feels like they're starting to like make it almost like a continuity of like progress towards how Rebels ends up appearing from an art design style.
I mean, Rebels, as I talk about every time I've recorded with you, is like it's my like it's just like the best of the best for Star Wars storytelling. And, you know, again, if your listeners, if you haven't watched Rebels, you think it's not for you, I can't encourage you enough because I was not a believer. And it took like I took a very long hiatus, like of a year and a half or 2 years between the first season and then restarting it again. And that animation, I hated it at first, like no offense to the animators, but I really did not like it. And by the end of it, I was like, I'm so attached to this animation style. But I will say, you said you have like such an insightful way of like relating the armor back to like, you know, any sort of like Macquarie like concept art or something we see in Rebels. And I wrote down, he looks like Dengar. I was like, I don't know. I kind of like it though. It was so different looking, but yeah, I was just like Mayday. I was like, he looks like Dengar.
Well, yeah. He looks very specific for specific reasons, but
you're talking about like the stuff that they found in the we'll get to it because I don't want to. I'm like ready and roaring to go to jump into the outpost story, but I want to make sure that we
talk about Metamorphosis.
Yes, especially because I like when I saw the name, I was super excited. Like
absolutely.
I'm ready.
All right, let's dig into Metamorphosis, which of course is season 2, episode 11. Overall, this episode had a lot of horror movie, monster movie, kaiju movie vibes the whole way through, including, as Molly and I discussed before we started recording, the saliva and like goo. And it's like one of those things that we didn't get in like saliva or like goo or like gross stuff was not possible during Clone Wars. Like the animation was just too hard. So adding that in as a layer now like makes these things so much more visceral.
I'm so happy for the animators, but I hate it. I hate it so much. Like I'm fine with them not having it. I relate that to like bathroom kind of humor or like gross stuff. And we had so much of that in the prequels, and I'm just always like, I don't want to see this, but that's just a personal thing. I mean, hey, it caught my attention. Like, it's cool that you noticed it from that viewpoint, because like I'm obsessed with Star Wars animation, and so it's really cool to see the development of it and how
what they've been able to do with it has been impressive. And yeah, it was gross, and it was successful at being gross, which I guess, yay.
Yeah, you're one of those, and I'm like, why did I watch this while eating dinner?
Fair. Yeah, no, it was successfully gross. We start out with the attack on the cargo ship, which of course, some sort of creature is attacking people.
It's so creepy.
But they don't spend too much time on that. They immediately cut to this planet where, of course, we see this arrival of this mysterious person we've never seen before, who is, mentioned as the Doctor. And he says, please take the shipment and the assets. He's like, do you assume that, based on having seen the whole episode, that all of the assets are Zillo beasts, or are they all different things?
I don't want to think that it's like one of those things where it's in the plural form, but we're going to see the Zillo beast and like, that's it. I want to think it's more than just that, because the whole point of this episode was to make sure you know why Tapioca City was I can't resist.
Tapoca City, yeah.
No, I know. I can't resist though. I can't. I have to say it. Why, it was destroyed, and I don't know. I mean, that's a really good question, because I want to see them pulling more and more from like legend or expanded universe. No, legends. I don't know why I went backwards. Or I want to see like surprises, things that I haven't considered, or like things that I don't know about. So I want to think that there's monsters that, that are going to just see.
Yeah.
Like, what I mean?
Other weird Star Wars is always better. And Star Wars that like we haven't conceptualized, or even isn't from Legends, is just new. Always makes Star Wars bigger, right? We have Zillo Beast, which we have seen previously in the Clone Wars, like they even made reference to it. But I suspect personally that it's more than just, there isn't like 6 shipments of Zillo beasts. It's like a bunch of different stuff that they're going to maybe Frankenstein monster together, maybe do something like that. I don't know yet, but
I'm very curious, because obviously it's stuff that we obviously like don't get to see that in like the original trilogy, or like Rebels, or it just like there's just, I just really like that they are saying there's still room to do all these other like creature creations. I'm hoping for basically a box of animal crackers and we get a bunch of random things. I am a big fan.
Like they're building like, this or is like the Star Wars. There's like a Mothra. There's like a
Well, okay, so I was about to say the Geonosis Battle Arena. One of my favorite things is that there's these very distinct looking creepy creepers, and I love them, and that's what I keep picturing. So like now you've got like your Zillo Beast, or like maybe they'll go full Godzilla who's gonna fight another. I don't know what they're gonna do. Maybe they're really weaponizing them into something. Wouldn't that be crazy? They put like a cannon on it. Just kidding. Not a cannon, but you know what I mean.
And personally, I think that this is going to somehow tie back to the mechanical kaiju that they found on that one planet. Like, how can it not?
Every episode has been so thoughtfully planned out, even when there's lighthearted episodes. So there's no way. This is 2 instances of like a kaiju experience, and there's that doesn't
the
feel like
kaiju experience.
Yeah, it's the newest attraction at Disneyland. The kaiju experience. It's in Galaxy's Edge.
It's in Galaxy's Edge.
I would actually love that.
I mean, if a kaiju attacked Batu, like, come on.
Oh my God. Okay, we're not going to get into like I have so many suggestions for them. No, I like am there's nothing that feels like lazy storytelling. Which I feel like everything is done so deliberately with each episode, even when you feel like they're very disconnected. And so I don't think that they did another kaiju episode like to be like filler, or, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of people were very critical of that episode. I loved it personally because of its like mythical meaning and everything.
Yo, we love that one. I recorded with you for that one. That was like up until this week, that was my favorite. I think that was my favorite episode. I'd said maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I keep saying they're all my favorite, but that means they're doing a good job.
I love it so much. But we get this doctor's name as he introduces himself to Mr. Say, who is of course Nala Say, and it's Dr. Hemlock. Hemlock is a very specific choice.
Oh yeah, it really is.
So it's like a tree bushy thing that is considered to be in many instances poisonous, and even a small amount can actually poison a human or an animal or livestock, right, or wildlife. And it's most famously known for Socrates. He was put to death basically by drinking like hemlock tea.
Yeah.
And so symbolically, the name, the Latin name, actually comes from the Latin, which means like spotted or purple or red. And it translates basically to being you eternally deadly or you will cause death. So this doctor, which doctors are supposed to be like, you know, in our collective unconscious healing, right?
Yeah.
Is like death and toxicity and like almost like doctor death.
Yeah. I mean, I don't trust a single doctor in Star Wars. If they're a doctor, I know they're going to be a bad guy. Like, I know that they
Dr.
are not...
Parshings, who is from the cloning vein of things. He's from the Mandalorian, of course. Yeah, so we're not supposed to trust this guy, and we like Nala Say, and Nala Say is like, I don't like you.
And do you think that we have just met, other than Palpatine, obviously, have we just met like our big bad of like a person because I wasn't sure after we lost
Rampart.
Yeah, like would it just focus on like
he might just be the season bad.
That's what I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
Like for the season, I think like we just met him, which I'm like, yay, cuz Rampart is so forgettable now.
I'm saddened. I liked Trebuchet.
Yeah. I mean, I like the voice acting though. Impeccable. I thought they made a great choice. I cannot remember his last name. It's Jimmy like Stevenson or something. But if you look him up, he is one of the most recognizable actors like for TV. I know him from Westworld, but his voice is just so smooth and perfect for this darkness that he's bringing into the show as we're, you know, getting darker and darker as the season goes. And also
Jimmy Simpson, of
thank
course.
You. Right, exactly. Of everybody
course.
Look him up and you're gonna go, he can do comedy too.
He's got one of those faces. His name is actually Royce Hemlock, which makes him even more like kind of a rich doctor, right? Like Royce.
Royce. Like a Rolls Royce. I don't actually know what Royce means, but I just thought, I was like, when they said Hemlock, I was like, that is a super deliberate name. Kind of like the clones though, because they have extremely like ones like their names have always cracked me up because they are just like, they're just, I don't know, their names just always crack me up because they're not traditional names and they're not made up words and names in Star Wars. They just have very blatant names with like Wrecker, he wrecks things, you know, things like that.
It's very on the nose. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I don't know why I'm like blanking.
So Royce means literally fame in German.
That's so funny. Oh, I just learned another word. That's hilarious. So he's just like
Dr. Fame Death.
I'm kind of obsessed with it.
It's great. I kind
of need a sticker of that or something. I'm
Dr. Fame Death.
Fame Death. I kind of love that. Also, I actually was like, let me put on my Marie Claire hat and look up hemlock, and I was like, it's like kind of, they're pretty, like the flowers. They're just like pretty, but I didn't know that they are a member of like the parsley family. This has nothing to do, this is not where the writers were going, but parsley, at least for like Jews, it's a huge part of like our Passover Seder. And we have a part where you dip the parsley into salt water and you eat it, which it's like my least favorite part but it's supposed to represent tears and like the grieving of our ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I was just like, oh, this is just another way for me to look at it. Like, I don't know. I'm like already obsessed with his character, probably the voice acting, but
they're very pretty flowers. They actually look like you might collect them and put them into a bouquet, but even a small amount of them could kill you.
Yeah.
And that's, some of the hemlocks are not poisonous, but it's just not worth to try it if you find hemlock. Often you'll see like a county has been like, do not eat this hemlock. Do not let your pets near this hemlock. You know, you'll find that across the globe. They'll be like, yeah, we have poisonous hemlock here.
But I do think that, you know, they are giving him this name. I think he's just going to act without remorse and without, you know, what, like, I'll destroy whoever I have to, which, I mean, we see in at the end of the episode too, where I know we'll get to it, but, you know, where we hear that the people who spotted the Zillow beast are actually going to be quote unquote dealt with. And it said so heartlessly and like, do what you got to do. And not everybody in Star Wars who's a bad guy is like that. But those are the ones that like genuinely have no soul. And they're the scariest ones. And obviously Palpatine is like that. Vader has conflict, but...
And this is a different sort of evil.
Yeah.
In that it dehumanizes and reduces down to the logical conclusion, because he calls Nalase a brilliant scientist who's not willing to use her gifts for what he considers to be valuable, which is experimentation on living creatures. And there's a certain amount of evil associated with that we have seen in regimes in history where they end up experimenting on people because they have dehumanized them to an extent that they feel like that's allowed.
Right. Well, and that's why you almost feel, I don't feel bad for the Zillow beast, but like you could. I mean,
I feel bad for the Zillow beast.
I think I'm just like, they did what they meant to do like very well at the beginning of the episode, where I was horrified, and then you hear Omega later saying like,
it ate the crew. Yeah.
Like it ate the crew. The way she says it, I was like aloud, it ate the crew. Like the same like horror.
Yeah.
So that was done so that's why I probably am like, not like tenderhearted towards the Zillow beast as I normally would be towards, you know, like creatures like that. But it kind of like it reminds me of I don't know if you saw it, the second Suicide Squad, where it's like I'm doing air quotes, there's like this creature that looks like a starfish, like it's like the big monster, and it's basically been experimented on. It's the same thing. It's been experimented on, and it like retaliates, and that's
can you blame it? Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that's also like but you're horrified by what this monster can do too, and that's the Zillow beast. I mean, that's the same kind of thing, but. Anyway, continue.
The Bad Batch, we actually cut to them after kind of having this really great scene with Dr. Hemlock and Nalase, and Sid is sort of being argued with by Omega. It's like, stand back, boys, I got her. Like, like, how dare you abandon us? And Sid's
but really, though, how dare she?
How dare she? Like, she deserved this. The Bad Batch is just like, they're not willing to fight Sid. And they end up like sort of finding out about this down ship, and they argue her up from 35%, which is their normal cut, to 50% to explore the ship to get what they can and bring it back. They arrive on the planet. And of course, like, it's a horror show all the way. They there's a lot of like, lights, scary, goo,
Very alien-esque.
Yeah, very alien-esque. And we also see that an Omega recognizes that the technology is Kaminoan.
Yeah.
Tech decides to go off on his own, which is, in a horror movie, always the smart choice. And Omega's like, wait a second, what are you doing? He's like, your concern is unnecessary. I will be fine.
Tech.
I know.
Boy, I just want to like shake him sometimes. It's always Tech for me.
It's always Tech. But I find it really interesting because we're actually getting a set of foils with the sort of almost impassioned science from Dr. Hemlock, and we get the like cold technology from Tech.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
really interesting.
Tech is like the most unfeeling.
But he still feels. Yeah.
He still feels for sure. Otherwise, he wouldn't be with the guy. He would not still be there. And that's just, I mean, it's not necessary for the story to show us that he goes through a huge arc like that anyway. But yeah, that's a good point. He's a foil and also is a smooth talker. They're very robotic.
Yes. So they end up getting kind of pinned down by the beast as he ends up kind of like stalking them and attacking them. I like the design of his smaller version. It looked very lizard-like. I really liked it.
He looks like Randall a little bit from Monsters, Inc.
Oh, yeah. And Tech ends up like, kind of saving them, but also releasing it towards, the village. And of course, everyone's like shocked. And this is where we get the line like, where's the rest of the crew? Oh, it ate the crew. It ate the crew?
I mean, she's just horrified. It ate the crew.
It ate the crew, yeah.
This is they fly now.
They fly now. It ate the crew.
I've never heard her so horrified.
I know. It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, not great, but like
I know what you mean.
She did it in an amazing way. And I really want to talk about, okay, so what's going on? The beast that was sort of incubated in the darkness. This is a shadow. The Zillow beast itself is a shadow of the Empire, the clones, the Clone Wars, right? We get that pointed out by Hunter when he talks about how when they eventually do see the Zillow beast, that this is the Zillow beast, right? It is of the Clone Wars, and they encountered it then. And it's important to recognize that shadows from a Jungian perspective, these are the things in ourselves that we carry around that we haven't dealt with psychologically. They take away energy from us. But you can also have city, family, country shadows, or shadows of people who have lived through particular events. In Canada, we're currently dealing with the children who went missing and during like reservation stuff from our Indigenous population. And that's a country shadow that we're dealing with. Basically, kids died when they were sent to reservation schools, and we're trying to resolve that as a country currently. And this is an example of like a manifestation from a fictional perspective of something that is the horror that is created during war. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It continues to exist and
grows and grows.
And it grows when you're kind of fighting it. Right? It's going to grow. It's going to continue to get angry and like ignoring it, especially, right? You have to find a way to have it out in the open and talk about these things. That's how you deal with shadows. But it will only be fed if you're giving it energy. It's a massive metaphor.
Yeah, especially because, like I said, that he wants anyone who saw it to be dealt with, and we know what that means. And that's a good point. Like it ties into that too. I think because the Zillow beast. I don't even know. It's just a creature, but it's like, I guess I just didn't look at it farther as this sort of metaphor. But I mean, the sight of it's just like so big and overpowering. And for some reason, like in Star Wars, it freaks me out. I think because I'm used to looming ships and cannon fire and, that, and the darkness that I'm used to seeing is that or something force related. And whenever I've encountered giant, terrifying creatures in Star Wars, I guess it's hitting me harder with Bad Batch, with this Zillow beast, and with
it's overwhelming, and there isn't an easy way to stop it. There isn't an easy way to tame it. right? There
Yeah.
isn't an
This
easy way
seems
to
like an
come.
untamable creature to me.
Yeah.
It's like, this is, in all honesty, there is
And they
no
had
reason.
Jedi before where they could have like maybe
Yeah.
had something happen that was more compassionate, and that it ended up just like being restrained and being taken and being, you know.
Is that what happened in the... So I know what a Zillo Beast is, and I already knew like about that episode and how the episode in the Clone Wars ends, but is that... I'm assuming that
it's on a planet and they basically like restrain it, and then it's taken back to Coruscant for experimentation, and it gets loose and then it's like destroyed basically, but they've obviously cloned it.
I really like how these two episodes actually tie in together then. How it's things that they want to keep hidden. It's all about like what...
Because the Zillo Beast is meant to be hidden, right? It's
right.
this hidden thing that grows.
Yeah.
Right? And it grows and it grows and it grows when you try to attack it.
Well, and that's, again, I think that's that overwhelming like scaredness that I had with it, because it's just those shots of it, like with the electricity crackling through its teeth, or like it's just it's horrifying.
It's great.
Yeah.
And what does the Bad Batch do? Well, you know, they try to stop it. They're really ineffectual because they don't really know what it is, what it's all about. And so Tech does the right thing, which is he gathers data. He pulls out the truth of it, projects it out there, right? Psychologically, he gets it. And this is important because you can't wrestle with shadows until you fully understand them, until they're out in the open. So in Canada, with my example, we talk about the bad stuff that has happened in our nation. You have to have it out in the open. But what does the Empire do? It restrains it and it gets rid of all of the people and sort of hides this.
Yeah, I mean, they're not necessarily looking for support from other, planets, but they have a certain, not image, I guess, I mean, it's just an all-encompassing, like, this is how you're supposed to think and feel. Like, it's a dictatorship, but it's just interesting how it doesn't matter how huge and scary the thing is, they are still going to try and just cover it up. And obviously in America, we have a history of doing that, and we don't really face, Canada's gone through a lot of the same transgressions that have happened here, like with our Native people, and we don't really address it. So
we're trying. You're
trying more than I would say. You're trying more than us.
Yeah, it's not perfect, certainly, and there's more that we can do. But this is such a great, like, symbolic thing happening inside of Bad Batch, which I love. But the Bad Batch has information, which is the start, right? It's the start of being able to do these things. Unfortunately, this entire village was basically silenced because of it. At the end of the episode, we have... I realized that the place that they're in, the cloning facility, or the place with Dr. Hemlock and Nalase, is Mount Tantus, which is close enough to Tantalus to be a House of Atreus consumption parallel. That's cool.
That's really neat. Good job.
Yeah.
Her grin is so big right now, too.
No, I'm really happy because, this is... the clones are part of this consumption, motif that's happening within Star Wars, that they are being bred to die and not to live. Yeah. So and
made me start crying already.
We're going to get that in the Outpost, of course, right? But because of the information of, do you know anyone else who is still around? Well, it was President Lamassu, right? Or Prime Minister Lamassu, who was still around on the cloning facility, or on Tapoka City before. And he informs Dr. Hemlock about Omega.
I hate him. I was like, you utterly useless. Go away. Also, like, I will say maybe that was the part that I wasn't sure how I felt about the episode. It was the part I wasn't sure about how I was feeling, because I almost am like at the point where I'm ready, after seeing the Outpost especially, I'm ready to focus on the big picture, and I don't want another chase to get Omega. But I don't know how they're all going to fit in together. And I'm sure it'll be done really well, which is why I was like, not really, I wasn't reactionary. It was just like, I don't think I can really think, I don't want to like predict that that's going to detract away from the plot or something. Because obviously Omega is going to play a huge role. I mean, she's our little angel. Like, of course she is. A sweet little baby angel. Like, she's going to play a huge role in the rebellion. And I'm itching and raring to go to get to that. But if they need to involve a chase to capture Omega to get to this next point, then so be it. I'm sure it'll be done seamlessly.
It's interesting that they're tying on this concept that Nalase has secret knowledge, right? Knowledge of creation.
Yeah.
Right? Certainly symbolically, of course. The feminine. Omega also being secret, being important as some sort of secret wisdom or power. It ends up being a dark union.
I mean, that's a good point. I definitely think of Omega that way. And I wasn't expecting Nalase to, play that role, especially because I honestly was, in the first season, I was very much under the impression that, she was not a great person.
Yeah. I don't know that we've figured out exactly. Yeah. She's not willing to go to the extreme of what Dr. Hemlock's wants her to do.
She might be pushed to it, though. I mean, if Omega really means that much to her, then, I mean, that's the mother protecting her child sort of like fight or flight defense, which I guess I wouldn't have guessed that that's where she would go. And I'm assuming that's what we'll see. I mean, wouldn't it be wild, though, if it didn't work out that way? If she just was like, no, not helping. Omega doesn't mean that much to me.
Yeah.
Prime Minister is wrong. That'd be wild.
Like just another clone.
Yeah, I know. That would be insane. They're not going to do that. But I think I would I'd be so frustrated, but also cheering for like my, what I was perceiving to happen, like being completely deflected. That would amuse me greatly.
Yeah, absolutely.
We kind of get that in the next episode, though, I think.
Oh, yeah. And there's certainly thematic elements between these two very different episodes that does go over to the Outpost, which is interesting. Let's dig into the Outpost, which is, of course, episode 12 of season 2. This was written by Jennifer Corbett. You should send your flowers to her. She is amazing.
And thanks for making me cry.
Yeah, also thanks, Jennifer.
I wasn't sobbing, but I teared up. Like, I just need everyone to know. I felt my heart break a little bit. And in part, it is the music. It is the animation and the facial expressions on Crosshair. And it's just, this episode, if you were not feeling 100% about this season, this episode should make you feel 100%. I mean, I have nothing negative to say at all.
No, it was excellent.
Excellent. Yeah.
We start out with Crosshair, of course, at the spaceport with stormtroopers disembarking around him and 3 clone troopers basically protesting their forced retirement, which is sort of the outcomes of the clone conspiracy episodes that we saw from earlier on in the season with Senator Chi and sort of the bill to basically replace the clones. And he meets his new commanding officer, Lieutenant Nolan, and this is
him.
An entire shout out to Crispin Freeman, who is a Red Arrow in Young Justice. He's an amazing voice actor, and if you hate him, he did his job right. I tweeted that at
100%.
I tweeted that at him. I was like, Crispin is amazing in everything he does, but I really hated this guy. And he's like, and then I did my job.
Yeah.
He applied.
Oh,
it was
yay.
amazing. He is such a sweetheart, and he's a super myth nerd.
Oh,
so
perfect.
I love him on a multiple levels. So I'm so happy that he got to be Lieutenant Nolan. There's also kind of a weird connection. I've actually spoken with Nolan Markey. He's the orchestrator and composer who's done a lot of work with the Kainai brothers and orchestrated episodes of the Clone Wars season 7 and worked with Kevin Kainai in the past. And he was tweeting about how he can't believe that his name is in Star Wars with this guy.
That's hilarious. I mean, but also like you touched on the music, like oh my gosh, the music.
The music
These
has been exceptional. Yeah.
These 2 episodes, like I should have mentioned it for Metamorphosis, but like so well done. This one, there is a moment. Well, you know what? We'll get to it. Let's continue because this one, I just need to mention. I only have like a couple notes jotted down because I'm coming fresh off the episode and just talk organically. This one, I for some reason felt I was feeling so much that I took like a whole list of notes, which for me, that is evident of like me really, I don't know, identifying or clinging to the episode. So just looking at it from all perspectives. So please continue so I can talk about the music a little bit at one point.
All right. So Nolan informs Crosshair that they're going to be going to this Imperial Depot on Barton 4 and that there's a high value cargo there that they haven't had a chance to basically move off planet. And his fellow clone troopers will be assigned there to transfer the cargo.
I thought it was going to be a monster.
I mean, it would be on brand for this season. Nolan is just straight up a British jerk. He's so gross. Like he just literally, he hates the clones. He's sort of the worst sort of abusive boss.
He is just the worst. I like felt so much anger and was ready to like pull out. It was late at night, but I was ready to yell at my TV because and like you said, he did the voice acting impeccable job, well done, because I was so angry. The dialogue though, it's just like we don't see it all the time in Star Wars. We do get more humanity with some of the bad guys. And we see it, we see those a little bit more with like with Andor, you know, there's so many, it's hard to like distinguish between good and bad sometimes, or like what their internal motivations are. And when you get these like one-dimensional characters like this, it's the same with like Hemlock. It's just like, it's disgusting. And I've just felt so much anger. Good job from an animated show. I got this a little bit too with Rebels, so that's why I was like pleased to be feeling these things. But
as soon as they arrive at the base, you see like the sort of scavenger condor type bird flying overhead, and it's sort of looming, and there's like this kind of shadow effect, right? Like you can only see the outline of the bird.
Do we ever see it full on? Actually, now that I think about it.
No, but we do see it symbolically at one point.
Yeah. And I noticed that too, but then I guess it didn't occur to me like, oh wait, yeah, I guess you're right.
It's like death stalking this group.
You're getting whispers of it, and then you get this blatant shadow at the very end, but you're only seeing streaks of it through the night amidst the, sleet and snow.
And Crosshair sort of follows behind Lieutenant Nolan like a shadow. He's like a step behind him and like off to the side.
I mean, he's good soldiers follow orders.
Oh yeah. But it's interesting because we have the bird, which scavengers like vultures and things like that sort of represent death following you. And literally from the start of this episode, wherever Nolan walks, Crosshair is immediately behind him until he's kind of handed off to Mayday.
So cool.
As death following Nolan.
That's so cool. See, I was only paying attention to how he's wrestling with his internal, his number one motivation, which is to follow orders. Good soldiers follow orders. But now we're seeing, but that doesn't mean he likes it, Like I always, I'll get into that in a minute. But that is really cool that you pointed that out. I didn't even think of it that way. I love that. Like, it's like death is near and you don't even know it. And there's all this symbolic death in this and obvious wow.
Like even into the base where all the dead clones' helmets have like been kind of put in a place of honor.
And something bad is going to happen. Well, first off, when you don't see faces of clones, like, don't they have their helmets on the whole time? The other ones that are there at the outpost?
When they arrive, Mayday is the only one with his helmet off. Yeah. The others are like cold and around like that light. But so Nolan and Crosshair arrive inside of the base, and Nolan's like, "Where is everybody?" And the light shines. Mayday like shines the light directly onto Crosshair. It's like symbolically illuminating him.
Yeah.
Right? And we get his name. Oh, the name's Mayday. Okay, what does Mayday stand for? It's a military thing.
I mean, I don't know why I laugh. Isn't it like Mayday is like help, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you...
It's because like SOS is too hard to say over the radio. And so they replaced it with Mayday, which it comes from like the Latin or the French Mads days. I'm pronouncing that terribly, which
you're better than me.
Is French. It's the it's the equivalent of saying help me. Yeah. So this is Crosshair's cry for help.
Yeah. It's like another instance of this name is picked deliberately. I just hearing it.
They're all on the nose.
They're all on the nose. But Mayday in particular is, I don't know. I guess May pulls. It invokes for me just a little bit of femininity. And maybe it's because my name starts with an M. I don't know, but...
My name starts with an M?
Yeah, wait a minute. Hey there, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
Hold on here. What's going on? No,
it's M Day.
M Day. I love it. But it's for me, May, it's springtime. It's like this is the name for me is so very different from every other cloned name. And I know that isn't, that probably wasn't intentional, but I just knew once he said his name that I was going to like this guy. Also, I loved his beard. Like, I loved his beard. So I was like, I'm going to like him. He looked great. Like, I wrote him in. I was like, 10 out of 10. Like, I wish more clones had that styling because that's a good look. But he, like, I just knew I was going to get attached to this guy when he said his name. And I don't know why. I mean, I guess his name is like, it's an act. It ends in a Y. It's just very different. Like, this character is very pivotal.
It reminds me of
a pivotal moment.
Wilco from early on in the season, which is like will comply as a meaning to what that symbolic meaning is. And Mayday, of course,
that's at the end though. You comply, but then because you don't start anything with Mayday. Oh, that's so cool.
Like you're in danger, right? Yeah. Mayday is you're in danger and you're gonna die.
Well, it's the end of a cycle, which is what Crosshair is going. If you picture him on like this little car that has this arc, he just made a huge move on it
from will comply all the way down to if you comply there is death. Exactly. There is nothing but death in this future of complying to these orders, and so there's a raid that happens and some of the crates are stolen, and so Lieutenant Nolan's like, go and get those crates, the two of you. And Mayday gets his helmet and he puts it on. And this is where you said it reminded you.
Yeah. I was like, because it was just seeing it, I was like, this reminds me of something and I don't know what it is. Is it Ray? And then I was like, it's kind of Ray, but I don't know. He kind of looks like Dengar for me.
Where's Dengar from?
He's one of the bounty hunters.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that I used to say the diaper boy. Like, he looks like he was like wrapped up with, like, he looks like he's wearing like a diaper was wrapped up with toilet paper or something.
Right. Dengar, is that the guy who with the hat that he like?
Yeah. He's the only human one other than Boba Fett, I think.
Right. Yeah.
There are some Dengar like fans out there, so hopefully I didn't offend anyone by calling him a diaper boy. But like, he just, his design cracks me up. It always has.
So I think his design is very purposeful. So he kind of looks like a skeleton mummy. He looks like he's dead, like the Walking Dead in a way.
And he looks, and I agree with you. Like, sometimes I'm like, wow, Marie-Claire, I don't know about this, but that for sure, because he looks so different from anyone else. He looks like such an individual that he's being
held together by bandages.
That's what and he references that too. Like, everything is just this whole show is just, it's some cardboard and slapped on top of something, maybe some masking tape. Everything's being held together with it's barely hanging on.
Yeah. And I love that they keep on pointing out, like, you can't open the cargo. This cargo is only for the Empire. Can't use this cargo. This cargo is only for the Empire. It made me feel like this mystery box really had to be revealed by the end. And I'm really happy it turned out to be exactly what it was. I loved it. Yeah. So they, end up chasing, the two of them go off on this adventure, which is really important because of course they go and they find this raider that Crosshair had shot at. The raider is wearing clone armor. I am sure of that, right? Because we see him later on when he's in the cave.
I thought he was.
This is very symbolic that he kills a clone. Effectively.
Yeah.
Like he shoots him from a distance, even though it obviously looks like a clone.
Yeah.
He doesn't even hesitate, right? So
is that the one where he was like, he made that face where he's just like, ugh. I don't know. There's this one moment where he made like this disgusted kind of with himself sort of reaction. Okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah. So him and Mayday follow this clone, the bleeding right into a cave, right? Caves, of course, symbolically represent,
Star Wars loves a good cave.
Caves, mines, they're really doubling down on that in these seasons of Star Wars, Mandalorian, as well as The Bad Batch. There's lots of caves. And
from a certain point of view, has a story from the perspective of the cave.
Yes. Caves are important because you go in and you experience transformation of sorts. You see the bleeding, right? The blood going into the cave. So it's really important that they follow this person in. They go and find him. He's already dead. They kind of have this discussion about, they have this armor, they've been just stealing from us. And one thing leads to another. And Crosshair ends up stepping on a mine in frustration, right? And it's a triangle mine.
I thought it was like, I don't know. There's a lot of focus on that too. Did you know? Like they really like make sure that you are very focused on. I wish I could like pull up the image and like how detailed it was, but maybe it's because I've been drawing so many I had to draw so many triangles for my celebration outfit because of those portals, because there's triangle portals that like I'm like, oh my god, another triangle.
Triangles have a representative meaning in Star Wars.
Well, look, it's another connection to Rebels, at least for me.
It is. I mean, it is sort of in that in Star Wars we typically think in binaries, right? Light or dark, Rebels or Empire. Triangles represent that there's a third option in how you live your life, right? Dave Filoni talks about how the light side is selflessness and the dark side is selfishness. But what they always fail to mention is that somewhere in the middle sits the self. And if you were to put your hands up and you had one hand on one side and one hand on the other, and then you were to touch your fingers together, you would create a triangle. And in the middle is the self. That's the third way. That's the third choice, right? And all of us have to find a way to live between selfishness and selflessness. We can't be entirely selfless or we end up starving ourselves. And we see that with Mayday, who has been very, very selfless in his survival, just letting people die around him. And you can't be entirely selfish like Captain or like the Lieutenant Nolan, or you end up killing those people around you and doing more harm. And so this is to show on this transformation for Crosshair that needs to happen, to show him alternative paths where this is very dangerous for Mayday to do, and he shows him that he's willing to save him.
I mean, and that's why, because I definitely at one point was thinking, why was it Mayday and not his own brothers that kind of pull him back? And it's important that it's not really like a life for a life situation. I don't know, it's just really powerful that it was someone that he just met, that he, I guess, really had to be separated from what he believed in to go into this cave with, again, someone he just met, even though the clones have that mentality of like they're all brothers. you know, it's still, it just feels very different. And
I think it's more powerful when you have sort of compassion and identification with somebody
there's a lot
who is
of compassion,
more different than yourself. It's why Reylo is super powerful for a lot of people, because finding compassion for somebody who is your enemy is very, very powerful.
Yeah. I mean, it just, I'm sad just thinking about Mayday, because and also I'm thinking about like when they're in the cave and talking about like, you know, what happened to Crosshair's group and
Clone Force 99, who says, but like Mayday doesn't recognize.
I know. I was actually like waiting for him to go, Clone Force 99, because I just assume like everyone knows who they are.
Yeah, no, he's like, oh, that's too bad they're gone. Yeah, like, I get it. I get it. I've lost brothers too. Yeah.
But that's important though, because it means like this is so much more than just your like family, your, you know, your small little world. It's more, I just think it's cool because it's like Mayday's like the fringe. She's like living on the fringe of what feels like the fringe of civilization. He's on the edge of death, and he's on the edge of like kind of breaking free of the spell that the Empire has. He pretty much has. I mean, because he's like what we would say, he's kvetching a lot about what. Like, he sounds like me in one of my recent jobs where I felt like the company wasn't really providing us support or like cleaning supplies during COVID, things like that. He sounds like me, and I love it. But yeah, he's like on the fringe of that and kind of pulling Crosshair to that edge too. But it's important that they had that little discussion about like that he had more room to complain essentially about what the Empire is not providing, because Crosshair already saw that at the beginning of the episode where he sees his brothers being told, like, forced into retirement. And now here's another perspective of what the Empire is not providing. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Slowly we see Mayday pin down each of the corners of the triangle, right? Showing you there's three choices, right? It's not just two, there's three. And, you know, he gets safely out of the way, but Crosshair is saved. And then they leave the cave. There's this massive storm that's happening, and Crosshair's helmet is like taken away. He's demasked, which of course is the best symbol. It's so important in Star Wars.
Yeah,
when you lose your helmet,
even bigger than a cave.
Even bigger than in Star Wars. When you take off your mask, you're demasked. The persona that you thought you were maintaining is not real. You are revealed and fleshy underneath.
You've been humanized.
You've been humanized. I mean, the best example we have, of course, is when Kylo gets told to take off that stupid "stop being a child" in a mask.
I was sitting here like waving my hand, like, let's just bring it up. The best scene in a Star Wars movie.
Smashes the mask to no longer be the child. And of course, we're humanized because of that. He can no longer hide from who he actually is. That's also really, really important. And you know, they're being chased almost by that bird. And the bird, I actually just quickly looked up, is actually called an ice vulture, which is dope as hell, because vultures themselves are birds of prey in addition to being scavengers. So they will do anything they need to do to survive.
Yeah. Carry on. I mean, I love any mention of them as like symbols of death in literature too. So yeah, I like that you love that it's ice vulture, because I was like, where's why don't they have like a convor, like a Kainai, or well, not that one, but like, I don't know. I was expecting like some like heavy metal kind of like name. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I like it. Everything is on the nose in
it is. Batch, you're right. You're right.
I mean, again, Bad Batch is supposed to be for younger kids than us. And so it has to work on their level. And they may have heard of a vulture if they look it up. They might not have heard of a convor, or like they might not know what a weird named creature is. They might have heard the term Mayday as well, right? So I think all of these names are very on the nose just because it brings it down. Yeah, it makes it more accessible for that level as well. So they make their way back to the base. in each other's arms, supporting each other, right? So this is like helping somebody else survive. That's like essential Star Wars, right? You have compassion, you're in this together, we're all in this together. And they make their way back to the base, and they are immediately told by Lieutenant Nolan, he basically starts yelling at them.
I am not a physically violent person, but did I want to punch this guy? Oh my gosh. I was so angry. I was so angry. Shaking my head.
And of course, like the Century Troopers had tried to like come forward, and Nolan waves them off. He's uncaring. Mayday is sort of dying. Crosshair's super distraught. He's like, please call a medic, and Mayday's like, no, that would be a waste of company resources or Empire resources.
You mean Nolan?
Yeah.
Said that? Yeah.
Nolan says that it would be a waste of Empire resources.
Yeah.
And he could have saved him. And behind Crosshair, he stands up, and the mountains in the background sort of make the same shape as the ice vulture's wings that we've seen like sort of burned into our retinas throughout this episode behind him, and he kills him dead.
Did you cheer? Oh, wait, you're talking about like when he shoots, not Mayday.
He shoots Nolan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we had two deaths like back to back. So I was just making sure you didn't mean Mayday, because Mayday's death, his death was actually, it was very, you almost like blink and you miss it, because I had to go back like a few seconds because I thought that he made like a choking sound essentially, and then he was gone. I guess I thought he was still alive. So, and I'm not a rewinder, but I had to for that because it was a blink and you miss it. But I was just making sure. Did you cheer? I cheered. No. I was like, well, you also have kids. I was by myself with my cat. So
no, I was sad. I was sad for Crosshair to have gotten to that point. Right.
Oh,
yeah.
That's when I cried. His reaction when you see, and this is why I was surprised that this episode wasn't the one named Metamorphosis, because you see that shroud coming down completely. It's almost like, I think the way that they animated it was like, it was so well done with the snow, like just kind of like cleansing his bare face almost, and just it's like just being woken up from a spell almost. And I said almost a bunch of times, my apologies, but I don't always want to see the right thing, which is we're not killing the bad guy or whatever. We're going to do the quote unquote right thing. I want to see characters in Star Wars specifically. I want to see them push the edge, not real life, just here, because I think it's too formulaic when you say, this is how we're going to handle the bad guys. This is how the good guys are going to handle it. And here's what the bad guys do. Pew, pew, pew. I like seeing this emotional turmoil. Like I always knew.
Crosshair needs to suffer a little bit, I think.
I think he did.
But I don't think he's done his suffering. I think he needs. There's more lessons that he needs to learn, and that's why he experiences literally a death and rebirth.
Okay, I wrote that down too. So I hope you're happy with me, because
I am.
I noticed that too. I wrote it down. I was just like, well, I was looking at the symbolism of like the shroud falling, and then just it's just like this quiet death he has. And that's why the animation is so brilliant in this, because you see it play across his face, and it's in the music, and it's just like you get this super impactful moment in the blink, like another blink of, this is like 2 blinks, and it's so fast, but it's just so like I've been waiting for this. I've been wanting a Crosshair episode sooner again. At the end of season 1, I was endeared to Crosshair because I hated him at first. Of course, everybody did. But I always knew that this was going to be the path he was going to go on. We all did. Like, he's not a one-dimensional character. I love this journey. And it's just the way I'm replaying his reaction right before he shoots Nolan over and over in my head. And that's when
powerful.
It was that. And I think it was Mayday who said, we're good soldiers. We followed orders. And for what? That's when I started to feel my heart break. And then I started to tear up. Like I was feeling it for Crosshair and Mayday. Not Nolan though. Goodbye.
The clones sort of bring him down. He dies. spiritually at least.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up in the clone facility with Emery Carr, who's the main cloning person that we've seen in both episodes, who's kind of been administrative, you know. And
I like her design.
Oh yeah,
she's pretty.
She's very.
I don't know why they like went out of their way to make her pretty, but anyway,
she's got cool glasses.
Yeah. I want to see a cosplay of her.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone with darker hair than me, do it.
Yeah. I could pull it off, but I don't have time to do a cosplay.
Okay.
Anyways, so she says, you know, you're where you're at, and if you cooperate, things will be easier. So, of course, we know he's probably back at, you know, this cloning mountain.
Clone Mountain.
Yep. Which, you know, it ties... I feel like we'll get like more and more as the episodes sort of go on. We'll get more and more of these sort of flashes to Mount Tantus as a sort of tie back to where, you know, Crosshair is at, where Nalise is at, and sort of what the plans of the bad guys are, because it's becoming more and more important in these last 4 episodes.
I know, 4 episodes. And I thought I wrote it down. They had the name of the next episode. And I don't usually, do they always put the name of the next episode out that early? I'm assuming they do.
No, not always. Yeah.
Then, yeah, it was out yesterday.
Pasu or Pabu? Pabu.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was. I was hoping you knew.
I have no idea.
Oh, it is a thing.
Oh, they have all the episodes listed. So Pabu
is an R2 series astromech.
Tipping Point, The Summit, which, I mean, hey, a mountain, right? And then Plan 99.
Oh!
Those are the last 4 episodes. Are we ready? No, we're not.
Oh, hype now. I've reached the point where, much like we're building up to the rebellion, which I'm assuming is the way we're going, since there's got to be someone out there that is still like, I just don't think it's going to happen, whatever. Much like that buildup, I myself have this internal buildup ready to go to see it, because this is just, it's so impactful. Like, I like knowing kind of where this story's going, and it's a story that isn't necessarily like an existing story already. It's not like we've, you know, like you know the story of Anakin Skywalker, you knew it before before the prequels came out. You knew parts of it, but I don't know all the details of this, and so I like knowing what the end kind of is. It just makes me really excited. And I'm so excited to see Crosshair reunited with the boys in Omega. I'm excited.
It'll be good.
Yeah. I'm going to cry.
You know, I think it's good to good writing lays the groundworks to make the audience feel smart. Right. They want to come along. They want to come along with the journey, right? Yeah. Wow. What an amazing 2 episodes.
That's one of the best animated episodes in Star Wars of anything that I've seen. Just for me personally, it really touched something in me.
There's deep psychology, deep mythological meaning in all of it, deep symbolism.
It's like how Jedi Knight in Rebels sticks with you, and that's the episode title everybody remembers. For me, that's like again, I still am like, why didn't they call this one Metamorphosis? But maybe that was too on the nose. I don't know, because he's on the fringe, is, you know, this outpost. But that's one that it's going to stick with me, and it sort of made me honestly reintroduced a little bit to the enthusiasm I had with season 1. I have loved this season, but I haven't been connecting with it. Honestly, like, I have not been connecting with it as strongly as I did with season 1. And I thought it was because we are jumping around so much. And like, now we haven't seen Echo for a while. You know, I like that family unit, and I guess I could see where that season was going, but this sort of reminded me of like why I love Bad Batch so much. And I get it with other episodes this season, but this really did it for me.
Absolutely. I really love these 2 episodes. I have felt like they have rewarded us as audience members. Like, they really gave us a lot to chew on and think about and connect with, even a very dark character like Crosshair. And we empathize with him, which is great.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's good storytelling. That's why we like not the only reason why, but that's part of why we love Kylo Ren is you can empathize with this on paper bad guy, which is how like you're supposed to not feel like goo hard eyes for Crosshair, even though he has his own fan base. I do not look up that fan art unless you want to laugh like I do, but he is just such a cool character, and I really did not like him for most of season 1, and I think this is just brilliant writing. I mean, I love characters like this, not morally gray necessarily, but like just these really conflicted like characters you're seeing go on this journey, make them so multi-dimensional.
I mean, he was just stuck in the underworld for a little while. He just needs some rebirth happening.
That's why. Yeah. I love that. I love the underworld, so maybe that's why. I'm a Crosshair girly now. I need everyone to know it.
That's good. Because, I mean, I think he's still on his road back from where he was. He might still make some mistakes or get caught up in being trapped. And it's hard to find your way out, right? It'll be interesting to see how this season plays out.
I'm ready. I'm so excited.
That's good. All right, Molly, where can people find you if you're there looking for you online?
All right. Well, if you can't hear my loud voice calling to you, it's going to be Twitter at Darth Molly, spelled MAULLIE, or on Instagram at Darth_Molly, spelled the same way.
Awesome. And we will be back in 2 weeks for 2 new episodes. And then the week after that for the season two-part finale. Lots and lots of Star Wars before more Star Wars in London for Celebration.
Yeah. Man, I still haven't watched Mando, so I've got to go do that tonight too.
Oh, they're great.
I heard.
All right. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host. Our music is provided by Christy Carew for What the Force. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We would like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force. Melody, Night Huntress, In Wild Space, How Rude, Anna Perez, Neil, Christian Luca, Josh Johnson, Scott C., and Susan. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps people find the show. Check out our other channel on YouTube, What the Fiction. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, and our website, whattheforce.ca. We also have a Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.